the cool thing about having projects like writing a book or getting prepared to hike a large mountain, which now I do several times a year, is that once you complete things, you start building momentum.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us on another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. Today we have my friend Ace Hagerty, and Ace, I've got to have a few conversations with you throughout the past couple months here, and just a super, amazing individual for sure, and up to a lot of big things. So, but before I go, telling everybody about, all of you're spilling all your beans in your fun beans, right? So, go ahead and just, if you don't mind introducing us or introducing yourself to the audience, and then, please share with us a little bit about something about yourself that most people wouldn't know.
Oh my goodness, already starting with the curveballs. Something people don't know. Man, I'm pretty open on my platform, so I'm gonna have to dig deep here real quick. But no, Doug, I really appreciate you having me on the show. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. For people that don't know me, my name is Matthew Ace Hagerty, Ace for short. That is my superhero name, and we will definitely dive into that a little bit more. And yes, there are real life superheroes in this world. Quick background on me. Man, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been doing this for about 10 years. I'm in real estate. I'm a structural engineer by trade, so I still do engineering. I do real estate. I do podcasting. I've written a book recently, got that published, and have a podcast in the top 5% of all podcasts in the world. So I'm very blessed to have those opportunities to talk with people like yourself and really tell people my story. My story, giving you the 35,000 foot view of it, is one of redemption. I went from a man who was kind of like an average Joe, just getting by, never able to really complete anything or reach any of my goals. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, and every year I'd make goals and I'd have this huge list, and then the next year would come around and that list would just go from one piece of paper to the other, and it never seemed like I could get anything done. I moved around a lot, as in I was moving and shaking, making a lot of noise, keeping myself busy to the tune of 80 to 100 hours a week of work. Yet I never got anywhere at the same time. I wore that badge of pride of keeping myself busy and working hard, but never really accomplishing anything. And about a year and a half ago, that absolutely changed. Uh, my ex-wife, well, wife at the time, told me that she was going to leave me if I didn't get my what together. And so over the course of 100 days, I took something called the 100-day challenge, and it completely changed my life forever. It flipped the script on everything. I was able to accomplish things. I wrote that book, started the podcast. I dropped 45 pounds and just so many more other things. I started hiking 14,000 foot mountains, things that I've wanted to do forever, but never had the courage or the ability to do things like that. And so ever since then, I live my life as a superhero. There's many versions of Ace. There is also Matthew, and we can get into the whole psychology behind those identities. But yeah, that's really me in a nutshell. And now I live a life of growth and just giving to others. And I do that in many different ways, things I never thought I would be doing just a couple years ago.
Yeah, I love that. And, super amazing story. So, three questions I have for you. One, please share with us, the name of your podcast and the subject matter there. Two, 100-day challenge. Please tell us more about that. And then, three, I would also like to hear a little bit more about, your podcast studio that you're in right now that you just
No,
launched recently.
I appreciate that. Yeah. As far as your first question, and my short term memory isn't the best at times, but uh, the podcast is called Superhero by Design. My book is called Superhero by Design. And guess what? My website is superherobydesign.com. I've made it really simple, not for people, but for me, because I would freaking forget. Being an engineer, sometimes I like to overcomplicate things. But the podcast really is a podcast. If anyone listens to like Ed Milet, that guy is a hero. He is a superhero to me. I just love what guys like Ed Milet do. And it's kind of along those lines where I just bring guests on. I do solo episodes as well. And it's really a place for people to go to feel motivated, to get insight into people's lives that are really making a change in the world. And it's just really meant to empower people and be a source of positivity and empowerment, because anybody knows go on social media, you watch the news, it's fear, it's shock, it's all of these things that make us just end up feeling worse at the end of the day. I know it does for me. It just drains my energy. So instead of draining energy, I want to give people energy, because that's what I experience when I listen to people like Tony Robbins. I listen to people like Ed Milet. I just get super jacked up, super juiced, and I want to be able to use my story and my life and the stories of my guests to empower people to take control of their lives. That's really what it's all about. And I've been so blessed to be able to meet so many amazing people that have continued to pour into me and change my life through the podcast. And I know it's helped other people too, because they've reached out to me, and I just am so blessed to be able to do that. So that answers the first question. Question two, the 100-day challenge. If anybody knows Andy Frisella, 75 hard, well, that's like kids play compared to what this thing is. It's 25 days longer. So instead of 75, it's 100. Instead of doing 5 or 6 of the same things every day, what happens in the 100-day challenge is essentially, in a nutshell, you take all the different parts of your life, your health and fitness, your relationships, your spirituality, your mission, your career, your finances, all of those things. There's 8 different things. I won't get into all the details of it, but essentially, you take all of those parts of your life and you figure out, okay, what do I want to do in the next 100 days? So for me, with health and fitness, I wanted to get on a diet. I wanted to exercise. I wanted to lose weight and build muscle. And so I set up my goals for that. A project that I wanted to do was write this book. So I did that. So essentially, I lined up all of these things. My spiritual walk, I wanted to realign myself with God. I'm a Christian, I'm a man of faith. And that was very important to me, to reestablish my relationship with God within those 100 days. So you do all those things, you set it up, and then from day one to day 100, you essentially just do what you say you're going to do. I had a checklist that at the end of the day, I would go through everything. And if not every box was checked, I would spend the time doing that. And I had a thing where I would go to sleep probably around 10:30 at night. But if those boxes weren't checked off, just like 75 hard, I made sure I did that. So reading was a big thing, writing was a big thing. And so I really had to be structured, which I call my yes management. It's essentially scheduling my biggest yeses. It's like time management, but I call it yes management, because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we could say yes to things that are our biggest yeses, and then we end up not getting things done that we need to do. And so for those 100 days, my priorities were set, and it was amazing. I was getting up at 5:30 every morning, doing cold showers, Wim Hof breathing, all the stuff to get you just fixed, ready for the day. And I had more energy. I was taking in 1,700 calories. I was not drinking alcohol. I was not drinking caffeine, none of that. And I had more energy in those days than I've ever had in my entire life, in my 20s, my 30s. It was absolutely incredible. And it completely flipped the script. I thought I needed caffeine. I thought I needed all of these things, but doing things like Wim Hof breathing, Tumo breathing, cold showers, all of those things. It was absolutely incredible how that just changed my energy levels. And I learned a lot of it at the same time, because my book covers a lot about the nervous system. So I learned, people call it biohacking. I call it just using what God gave you. And after the 100 days, my life was completely different, because I transformed myself. Not only did I physically transform my body, but I was able to transform myself from the inside out. And after that, I had the rough draft of my book. My body looked better than it ever had since I was probably in high school. And I had more energy than I even did when I was in high school. And I had formed some great relationships, both personally and professionally. And ever since then, my life has never been the same.
That's huge. I mean, it sounds like a miracle, right? So, obviously was very difficult, required a lot of commitment from you and a lot of effort. But I absolutely love that, and can't wait to hear more about that. So, curious, I'm a big audio book kind of guy. Is your book available, in
Uh,
audio format?
that's a dagger in the heart. I have not recorded the audio yet. And I do get that request a lot. So, one of my goals before the end of this year, 2023, is to get the audio version of the book up and running by January 1st. And the cool thing about having projects like writing a book or getting prepared to hike a large mountain, which now I do several times a year, is that once you complete things, adding these other projects, you start building momentum. One of the biggest things that cycles I found myself in is I would start something and I would take it so far and then I would shelf it because I would be interested in something else or I just wouldn't see it to the end. And I feel like so many people, that's a repeating habit in their lives, is they have great intentions. They give it great effort. They sacrifice, they work hard, but they never see it through completely because quote unquote life gets in the way. And once I did this 100-day challenge, ever since then, things have just been completely different. I'm able to complete tasks, I'm able to complete projects. Like I didn't start the podcast until after the 100-day challenge. That wasn't even in my mind at that time. And now I have a successful podcast. And obviously with the audiobook, that's a big endeavor that I have to put into my life, but I will have that done and it is said here live, I will have that available January 1st. So I appreciate you saying that. And to answer your third question, because I do remember what that third question is,
Great
in the
job.
back, yeah, in the background right now is another fun project. I told everybody at the intro that I was in real estate. My specialty is short-term rentals, so like Airbnbs, Verbo, things like that. But I've always wanted to create experiences for people. So the podcast, what we're calling the podcast house, is the first one of those experience short-term rentals. So this has become my podcast studio. I took one of my Airbnbs. I turned one of the bedrooms into a studio. So I had a professional sound engineer contractor come out and he's done stuff for like Capitol Records and things like that here in Nashville. So top of the line, we got sound clouds, we got soundproofing on the walls, all of that. We've got all the best podcasting equipment. You can't see it around me, but I've got cameras and lights all around me. And this has just been kind of a project of mine. I have never seen anything like this before where people can come in, shoot content, podcast, whatever they want, and then go upstairs to the kitchen where they can cook themselves food, have a few drinks. We can bring in a private chef if they want. It's all about comfort, luxury, and creativity. Being able to get somebody to come here, sit down, everything's taken care of for them. The engineer is here, all of that. They can record, maximize what they do, get their voice heard, and then when they leave within 48 hours, they've got everything edited, they've got social media content, all of it is right there for them. And this has been amazing. We launched this about a week ago. We've had 2 events so far, and the events themselves have been incredible. We just invite people over free of charge. Food's provided, drinks are provided. People come and network. It's a lot of creatives, but it's also people from just any walk of life that wants to start a podcast or they have a podcast, but they want to take it to the next level. And we're able to provide that for them. And I just in this short little bit, this project, you can just feel that it's something special, that it's going to be something big. And I'm just so blessed to have the opportunity not only to have partners in this business that I love and that we get to build something together, but at the same time, I get to give so much back in a medium. I love podcasting. I can't believe I've ever became a podcaster because being a huge introvert and an engineer, I never thought that would happen. but the connections that I've made, not as far as connections, what can I get from people, but like the actual human connections, the conversations that we've had, people opening up, people laughing, crying, finding parts of themselves they never thought were there. Those are the magical moments that only something like podcasting create.
Yeah, I love that. And so yeah, so I love that so much, man. It's a super exciting project. Definitely sounds like a blast. Like I wish I was there. Can't wait to go there. And I believe we need to follow you on Instagram to see the pics, right? And
Yes.
find out more. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. If you go on Instagram, it's just podcast.house. You could also follow me. I'm probably on there somewhere, Ace Hagerty on Instagram. That's my personal superhero Instagram. But yeah, check it out. It's the podcast house. And I believe the website is the same thing, podcast.house. And we just opened it up here in Nashville, Tennessee. And once we get this thing rocking and rolling, man, it's going to be coming to a city near you. That's for darn sure.
love it, love it. And I'm gonna get a copy of your book, the hard copy, regardless, right? But I'll be looking forward to the audio version. Let me ask you this fun question. How would you say that you found success, and how do you define success?
Oh, man, that is a phenomenal question because success, there's ask 100 different people what their definition of success is. You'll get 100 different answers. And to me, really, success is just waking up excited about the day, being grateful for what God has given me, the ability to do what I do, fully functional brain, fully functional body. And even if that wasn't the case, as long as, and here is where I'm getting to answer your question about what success means to me, it really means you're just aligning yourself with your mission in life and whatever that mission is. And so for me, doing the podcasting, doing the engineering, doing the real estate aligns my mission with my passion, and it also utilizes my skills so that I'm able to create something, to build something. I feel like specifically as men, we are born to create. We are born to be on a mission. And if you know what that mission is and you're following it, doesn't make it easy. Trust me, I have hard days. I am not perfect by any means. I am a work in progress every single day. However, if you line your life up with your mission, and I'm talking your personal and your professional life with your mission, whatever it is, that is a successful life. Money doesn't matter, status doesn't matter, what you own doesn't matter. When you align all those things, the money, the material stuff, that will come along, but that's never what I've been focusing on. And so, yeah, mission driven life, purposeful life, that's what defines success in my book.
I love it, man. And, I also want to say, I also love the fact that you just declared a few minutes ago that you're a Christian. That's a Romans 1:16, right? Unashamed. And so am I. And so I think that's one of the first things that you and I connected on in one of our first calls, maybe the first call. But I really love that definition of success and that whole mission, and your, mission for your podcast and mine is also very similar because for me, I had really, really hard times in my life where whatever, addiction, I'm no longer, an active addict, and, jobs where I'm digging trenches in 110-degree sun and making like $11 an hour, right? And this wasn't even that long ago, but I had people that I could plug in and listen to, like Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins. And now there's just a plethora of podcasts. And I think, but my point is, someone who brings a message of like Tony Robbins, which is essentially, you can go from being a broke janitor to to a millionaire in 1 year, right? This is what he did. But all of us have, unlimited potential. It's a matter of learning how to tap into it. And if you get committed to that journey, you can do it, right? And so that's what's so beautiful about your life and what you're creating in your life is you legitimately are doing this, making your dreams come true. And it's a big deal, man. So kudos to you for that. Let me ask you this. What would you say is one of the most, fun, quote unquote successes that you've either solely created or were a part of?
Honestly, the biggest thing that there's a couple things. The book has been amazing. It has not sold a million copies yet. However, the copies that
Yet.
have sold yet, the copies that have sold, people have reached out to me and have told me how it has completely changed their lives. The book gives everybody a step-by-step process of how to become a superhero. First step is mission and identity. That's the first chapter, and that talks about how you can find your mission, how you can find your identity, because so many of us think we know who we are, but it's really a reflection of how we think society should view us as opposed to how we truly are, our true nature. And so the book has been an absolute blessing in that I'm not there to make money. Go onto my website, superherobydesign.com. You can get the ebook for free. Right there. First thing you see on the homepage is a free ebook. I'm not there to make money. It would be great to make money to further other causes, but that's not my first intention. My first intention is to help people change their lives. So that has been incredible. The other thing that I would say that has just been a complete blessing in my life that has completely changed is I'm on the board directors for a nonprofit called Operation Rescue Children, ORC. It's very similar to Operation Underground Railroad, but instead, what we do is we raise money to train these operators that go into these sex trafficking, labor trafficking operations and shut them down. So we're training people like SEAL Team 6, Texas Rangers, either even international people in like Nepal and things like that, the local military or police officers out there. And so to have the opportunity, I didn't know anything about sex trafficking. No one's been trafficked in my life, but once you start down this path of living out your mission and growing and giving, to me it was like I have done nothing in my life up to this point that I would call moving the needle in life, changing. People want to say I want to leave this life better off than when I first got here, right? Well, 2 years ago, I was a good man, I was a good husband, I worked hard, I provided for my family. But if I had died that day, I would have had regrets because I didn't do anything bigger than myself. Yes, in some people's eyes, being a good husband, a good provider, that's all that if you live that kind of life, you're good. But to me, I felt a deeper need to do something more. And God kept pushing this in front of me some way, somehow. And I'm like, God, like I don't know anything about this. I need, my version was I need to volunteer in something I've been a part of in my life, like something that's affected me in my life. This has never affected me, but it kept coming back over and over and over again. And the opportunities that have been presented to me by being able to give to this organization has just been incredible. I have seen things and talked to people and heard stories that were just absolutely heartbreaking. And some people ask me, like, how can you, with all the things you've experienced and seen specifically with this organization, like, how do you have any faith in humanity? How can you go on with all the terrible things that are going on in this world? Because now I'm exposed to those things, not in person, but we hear these stories, we hear it from the operators. And I tell them, you know what? It doesn't it bothers me, but it doesn't affect me because I'm taking actions towards solving this problem. I'm a very small part of the solution. However, every mountain we climb starts with the first step. And that's what I've learned in life. And I'm taking steps forward. So I'm so blessed to be able to work in an organization like Operation Rescue Children to fight the good fight. I'm not on the sidelines anymore. I'm the man in the arena fighting the good fight for people that can't fight for themselves. And it's just an absolute blessing to be able to be a part of that.
Man, I love that. And really, really, I can see why on your podcast you have people opening up to you because it's an incredibly heartwarming conversation. And I hear you, man. You're a small piece of the solution. However, that solution in particular sounds like it's built to be able to scale to where you can have millions of small pieces that really truly could, solve this problem. And it is a very nasty problem. So hats off again to you, man, for that. I want to get involved. So, we'll follow up with you afterwards. At least, let me know how I can, donate or how I can participate. How can I support you in this, nonprofit? What's the name of it one more time?
Operation Rescue Children, and just look it up on Google. You'll find it right away. And honestly, right now, with how we're growing, money raising is the most important thing. We're working on getting ways of being able to get people to volunteer to spread the word, spread the education of what's going on, because this isn't something that happens in a foreign country. This is something that happens also in our backyard. It happens over our borders. That's why we started in Texas, because Texas has the number 2 in the country amount of people that are trafficked over the border, whether they're sex slaves, labor slaves, doesn't matter. Like, there is a huge problem right in our backyard. I live in Nashville. Anytime they hold a large event here, sporting event, music event, people are trafficked through Nashville. It happens throughout all the major cities um, here in the US and in the country too. It is a cancer in this world, exploiting other humans. And it's a horrible thing that people can do that, but you're either part of the solution or not. Even if you do nothing, you're part of the problem. And I'm not
Yeah.
telling everybody that they need to fight the same fight I'm fighting, but find something in your life that you're able to be a part of the solution for, and be a part of that solution no matter how you can. Trust me, I'm not the best money raiser in the world. That is not one of my strengths. However, networking, writing, some of those are my strengths, and I'm able to provide to the organization with where I can. And so, yeah, Operation Rescue Children. You can donate. We do one-time donations. We do monthly donations. Even something as simple as 25 bucks a month, reoccurring donation. That makes a huge impact. And it's only 25 bucks.
Yeah, you're
So,
not gonna you're not gonna miss that or notice that or even consider noticing that
mm-mm,
ever. So,
not
yeah,
at
I
all.
love that, man. Great place to start. You can definitely, count on me to get started ASAP, supporting via donations and finding out how else I can help. So I love that. Now, let me just shift the conversation a bit here and ask you this fun question. If you were to take everything that you know now, and bring it back to, age 18, what would you do to fast track success, or your path to success if you would do anything differently?
Yeah, it's easy. Don't listen to the bullshit in your head. You are all put here on earth for something special, and you have something special to
Yes.
give, and you have it all within you. The ability is within you. Don't let the garbage that's in your head, whether it came from someone else or it was created on your own, you need to work through your own shit. I have to constantly work on myself, work through my stuff. No one else is going to do it for me. But if you keep telling yourself that you have something special to give, and you keep working on that and pushing on that, great things are going to happen in your life. And once you start loving yourself, oh my God, that is a complete game changer. And that starts with talking to yourself right, treating yourself right, keeping your commitments that you commit to yourself, whether it's getting up at 5:30 in the morning, going to the gym, eating healthy, whatever it is. Once you start keeping your commitments to yourself, game over. Your life completely changes in an instant.
Yeah, I love that. It's something that Ed Milet says, right? Your confidence is essentially like keeping commitments to yourself, right? Something like that. And it's so simply put, and such a big, awesome epiphany that does change lives, man. I really love that. What are your thoughts on, mindset and how to go from like a scarcity or a non-successful mindset to an abundance mindset or a successful mindset?
Yeah. Um, it's very simple for me. God will always provide. That's how I see it. He created this universe, He created this planet. Our minds are geared towards scarcity because we want to survive. It's a survival mechanism. But if you let all of that go, and trust me, I struggle with it a lot. I struggle with it within finances specifically, that there isn't enough, there isn't enough. There's always going to be enough. And
Yes.
that's not an ignorant way of looking at it. Some people might criticize that, but honestly, our brains cannot fathom how vast this world is. People talk a lot about, population growth and how that's going to be a problem. Well, you know what? In the next 30 years, we're actually going to be underpopulated for what we need to provide. And
Yes.
what and so just flipping the script on that, just having whether it's incantations, prayers, meditation on abundance, training your mind to think in terms of abundance rather than scarcity, and just looking at your life, what are the things that you hold scarce? Shoot, I know a guy who's worth over $1 billion and he still holds on to it. And he's abundant, but there's a part of him that still has scarcity. So it doesn't matter if you have no money or all the money in the world. It's a mindset shift. And once you start shifting that mindset, man, everything opens up for you.
Yeah, I love that. Just one thing I would add on to that is, do your research, look into it, right? And then for abundance of finances, try counting to 1 billion. And there is trillions upon trillions of dollars floating out there in euros and so on and so forth. Yeah, the scarcity around finances is a struggle for me as well. I'll just call it a challenge. And it's a beautiful thing when you start to go, wait a second, I'm choosing abundance. What does abundance look like? It looks like, yes, I can have this Porsche like 997, within 6 months if I want to. I can have this. Does it mean it's the right fit for me? I don't know, but the point is, like, the river of finances is flowing. It doesn't go into the Dead Sea where it's collected. It, maybe go in a dam where you can put that money to work for you, but it continues flowing, right? And I love that. So and so much, harm, in this world is actually created from scarcity.
Oh yeah.
It's such a strong force. But yeah, so as we are getting close to wrapping this up, I've got also, as I was thinking, right here is vacant in real estate. So I'm going to put your book right here, Matthew. Okay. So I love that, man. Can't wait. And yeah, with that being said, if you don't mind giving us one book recommendation, and maybe one tech recommendation.
Oh, book and tech recommendation. Okay, I'm not a tech savvy guy, so I'm going to start with the books because I'm an analog guy. I love me some books. Um, I would say probably one of the biggest things, speaking of finances, that have changed my mind, Rich Dad Poor Dad, huge influence on my life. It kind of, I came from the education. I was very good at school. I did very well. And once I read that book, it just completely changed my life because it's more than just finances. It's just changing your outlook on life. And yes, it is, specifically towards finances, but you can extrapolate that to different parts of your life. And so Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the story, the book that really started me down this. And there's been thousands of books since then. However, that was the first one, and I always recommend that book. Um, as far as tech goes, buy one of these Shure mics. It's like 100, $150. Get on Riverside like we are right now. Start speaking your story. Start speaking your words. Start talking to people about their story. Actually connecting with them. Don't just DM them hoping for something or leave a comment on their social media. Connect with people. This microphone is magic, and you don't even need this microphone. You could use your laptop. It's that easy. Start a podcast, start communicating, and really get real with people because that's when things are going to change. Listen, understand, you don't have to agree. But once we start talking more, that's when real change starts happening because it's happening from the inside out.
Yeah, I love that. Love that so much. This has been an absolute pleasure, Ace, and really appreciate your time. Now, before we completely wrap this up, is there any way that our audience can support you? And how would you like our audience to connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I would say Instagram or Facebook. Facebook is Matthew Ace Hagerty. Instagram is Ace Hagerty. You can DM me, what have you. Obviously, I recommend getting my book. You can go online if you want the free ebook. You can go on Amazon if you want the hard copy. And like we talked about, I'm promising January 1st, the audiobook will be available as well. And honestly, supporting ORC, that's that's the biggest thing for me. That is really what changes lives. And so going on Operation Rescue Children online, donate 25 bucks a month, do $100 one-time deposit. It's going to make all the difference because I see where this money goes. It goes to the training. I talk to these operators. I know their families. I see how this training changes their lives so they can also come back home safely to their families, and they can also take down the people and free the people that are just in these conditions that you and I can't even fathom. And so, if anything else, my book, great. My podcast, subscribe, all that fun stuff, great. Superhero by design. However, Operation Rescue Children is really where it's at the end of the day.
Love that. Love that. Well, again, thank you, Ace. Really appreciate you. One of my favorite interviews of all time, and I am looking forward to jumping on another call with you down the road. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. So thank you so much again, Ace, and to our audience for listening to another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.